Morning. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. Again, I'm woke. No, I have awakened to the 3 o'clock hour. A powerful time. They say the divine hour. And in my coffee, I put powdered mushrooms like turkey tail and lion's mane and reishi and cordyceps. It's actually quite good. This morning's message, and by the way, a little scruffy, been working out in the yard and down in the garden, and that's the message. Today's message is the garden. Why garden? Well, so I started adding up the financial part of the garden, figuring out what the bottom line, how much impact it really does in savings. And I added up the poundage of last year's garden and an idea from this year's garden, and came up with an amount. Divided it by 12, and I came up with about a $200 a month savings, food budget savings. And every little bit helps. A savings of any kind, $200 a month is a lot to a lot of people and to myself. Every little bit helps. But when you take a look at the total amount produced in dollars, even in today's inflated costs of food, and the amount of time, especially for Linda, she works and works down that garden, she loves it, for a lot of other reasons, and we'll talk about those. But when you figure out the hours she puts in it, that amount of money, and she puts in that time from, well, the bulk of it during the summer months here in North Dakota. But you figure out the hours that she puts in, usually anywhere from 4 to 6 hours a day, 3 days a week. And the amount of money, about $2,500. It comes out to about, well, far less than minimum wage. It's about $5 an hour for her time. But she doesn't do it for that reason. She does it for so many other reasons. And so do I. I go down and help. We water. And that's time spent together is one of the major things. A husband and wife spending time in the garden, in conversation, smelling the flowers. It's great for a husband and wife relationship, working together in the garden. That's one of the top reasons. Little sidebar things is, this is basil. I never did much with basil. I never thought of basil until I started gardening. And some friends actually have a herb farm. And I walked into their high tower one day of fresh basil. And it was heavenly, to say the least. This is God's herb. Oh, fresh basil. It's incredible. The aroma. One time we had a farm to market dinner over in Esmond, North Dakota, at the people I mentioned who have a herb garden. They used to put it on every year. And they go out and get local producers of everything from mushrooms and meat and potatoes or wheat. And they put on a dinner in a wheat field with local suppliers of food. It's an amazing day. And one time for dessert, they had gelato that was supplied by a dairy farm who opened up a gelato manufacturing place. And they purposely made basil gelato. And I thought, as it came around, I went, oh, I don't know, basil gelato? But there was a little left at the end of the day. We're all sitting in the barn, and it didn't get past Linda. It was so delicious. Sweet basil. Hope you can see this okay. Maybe it's like this. Beautiful plant. That's one of the reasons. The smells of the garden and the freshness. Every day, I pick up one of these little sweet 100s, I think Linda calls these little tomatoes. Oh, same thing. These are a piece of the garden that you don't think about the bottom line dollar for. Fresh, healthy, mineral-filled, non-glyphosate-coated tomatoes. Sweet 100s they are. The other thing, I picked this yesterday, this carrot. And once we started gardening, I used to buy carrots at Walmart or some other supplier. And, we'd cook them, and I never thought they gave much flavor. But if you've ever grown one in a garden with just, and I guess we could call in our garden organic. It's all organic because we use no chemicals, even for getting rid of pests. And it's been sitting there for 100 years without any chemicals. We don't use factory fertilizers. We use 60-year-old cow manure that's turned into soil. But a carrot, isn't it a beautiful color? And pretty good breakfast. But the taste, it's like the first time I had one from our garden and I bit into it, I went, what? So this is what a carrot tastes like. The taste from the gardens are incredible. These were just to give you an example. So, I do like coffee. I have started to think about why gardening then, because for the hours you put into it, you definitely don't get a good payback. So I'll go down the list. I kind of put together, and I will go down that list with you. Okay. We went over the bottom line dollar is, for a lot of Americans, $200 a month food budget savings is, for us, is more than a quarter of our food budget, much more. So it's still, worth the effort. But the rest of them are, number one, it's healthier, organic, wholesome food. Eating from the garden is bound to make you feel physically better, and reduce your healthcare costs. Number two, the garden helps break our reliance on the food chain, on the logistics of the Walmarts, which in these perilous times is some self-reliance for your food production is and going to be even more so a must. Number three, why garden, is the work is work, yet it's not painful work like going to a gym. It's spiritual and work that grounds you in the soil if you're barefoot and you go barefoot for a while in the soil. The exercise is wholesome, good, productive exercise. I know as Linda and I work in the garden, it's a spiritual experience. It's like an anchor back to Adam and Eve in the original garden. And the bounty that God provides. And it is all provided by Him. We see seeds starting and 10-foot corn loaded with corn cobs at the end of the summer. Little tiny seeds and zinnia flowers bursting with color. Little seeds and carrots. Little seeds and herbs and basil. Bright red tomatoes. Another point I'd like to make is it's a great place for prayer. You know, a sprinkler might be going in the background and the birds are singing and it's quiet, just the rustle through the plants of the wind, and it's a wonderful place to pray and be thankful for all God has given us. And truly, another reason for gardening is when you're spending time in the garden, exercising, producing food, spending time with your wife or husband or friends, spending time with a spouse, friends, relatives. It's a spiritual, emotional, and prayerful time. Everything from the garden tastes better. I just tasted smelled the basil, even tasted the basil, fresh basil. It just explodes in your mouth. And the carrot and the tomato. I read several articles that they say gardening and the mental acuity and the connection to the land is proven in many peer-reviewed studies to keep Alzheimer's away. It keeps your mental acuity sharp, gardening. Even in the garden, when you're in the garden, the sun is out, the wind is bustling through the plants, but the sun alone increases your vitamin D consumption. And vitamin D is there's almost a vitamin D, whatever, demic in the US. People don't have enough vitamin D, and that was proven during COVID. Gardening just feels good. It improves your mood and your outlook on life. You know, all of the news now, oh my gosh, everything from Trump derangement to end of the world. At times, it can get way heavy on you. So gardening is just a wonderful escape place to just, like I say, spend with God and be thankful and content. There's a lack of contentment in the world today. We so need contentment. It's just Buy this, buy that, buy this, buy that. Oh, you can't have a life unless you have this $100,000 wave maker boat. You have to have this and you have to have that. It's crazy. Gardening will ground you, literally, back into contentment and gratitude for what you do have. Gardening also, you see it all the time, surrounded with bees and butterflies. It's part of the whole natural process, and we're just engaged with the natural process. Pollination, the theater of the garden, to see everything going on, even from the bugs, which sometimes you battle. The animals, the bunnies that come around, that you battle. The bees, the butterflies, the birds singing. It's a theater, a free theater that you can go to and spend some hours in solitude. The garden is just all around goodness. All around goodness, from fresh basil to a crisp carrot. So there's 1,000 reasons why to garden. And the last one on the list is actually to save on your food budget or prepare for empty shelves. And there are and have been empty shelves, especially at COVID. So these things can happen. Well, in all my rambling about the garden, this morning, in the early hours of the morning, I ran out of battery in the camera. So, anyway, there's thousands of reasons to garden. And the last one is to help pay the bills, your food bill. Hopefully I got enough footage and we'll go up and do some editing and see how it goes. Meantime, I'll have a carrot for breakfast. Bye. Canning beets, pickled and regular. Huh?
Yep, they're big enough now. There was a bee. He was going from flower to flower to flower, and I don't hear him over here anymore. He's moved on.
Oh, is that my...
Yeah, that would have been fun because he was like here and here and here, and it was just like perfect.